Tell me this, ladies and gents. What do you get when you cross English prisoner DNA, Scottish governance, a land where everything down to the plant life wants to kill you, and copious amounts of industrial grain alcohol? Well, there can only be one answer to that. That's right, Australia. The land down under. The land that gave you AC/DC, Kylie Minogue's arse, this video, and probably future war with China. The land that comprises around 90% of the shitposting community despite having the least functional internet in all of the OECD countries. And given all that, what other country could provide us with such insane cinema gems as Razorback, Dead End Drive-In, The Man from Hong Kong, Harlequin, Day of the Panther, Strike of the Panther, Fair Game, and the Mad Max films. But I'm not here to exclusively talk about the achievements of the Empire, although trust that it has occurred to me. I'm here to do what I always do, which is talk about films I've seen, which shows you how dull my life is. And as you've no doubt gleaned, I watched an Australian film, a seemingly little-known Hitchcockian thriller known as Roadgames. Described by the director Richard Franklin as Rear Window in a Truck, Roadgames stars Stacy Keach as Pat Quid, an American trucker in the outback tasked with transporting meat from Melbourne to Perth. On his way, he encounters numerous characters such as a woman whose husband leaves her behind on the road for being annoying, the owner of an ill-fated boat, a motorist with an inexplicable number of balls in the back seat of his car, and of course Jamie Lee Curtis as Pamela, a hitchhiker looking for adventure on the road. On this journey, he becomes suspicious of a man in a green van as the police hunt for a serial killer who dismembers his victims and leaves their body parts scattered around the country. Which, let's be honest, is pretty par for the course for Australia. Of course, Green Van Man turns out to be the murderer in question, and after Pamela is taken hostage by the killer and Quid is fingered by the police as the prime suspect, Quid finds himself in a race against time to track down the killer and save both Pamela and himself. Firstly, this is no dreary road movie. This film is pure Hitchcock, from the implied to be sexually motivated psychopathic antagonist, the witness turned suspect wrongfully pursued by the law, to the very wicked sense of humour. Roadgames isn't covering up its inspirations. No wonder then that it's praised by the likes of Quentin Tarantino, as that's pretty much his career in a nutshell. Stacy Keach is by far the best thing about this movie, and given that the rest of the movie is pretty golden, that's saying a lot. He plays a character who is high on intelligence and low on ambition, and every moment he's on the screen is entertaining. The fun and fast-paced dialogue written by Everett DeRoche, writer of Razorback, Harlequin, Long Weekend and many others, certainly contributes to the overall charm, even when Keach's only acting partner in a scene is a sleepy-looking dingo. Pat Quid as a character is, I guess, what you could call a self-trained snob, but not insufferably so, frequently claiming that just because I drive a truck doesn't mean I'm a truck driver. His tendency to overanalyze the world around him is only complemented when he picks up hitchhiker Pamela, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, who, despite being the scream queen and this being a serial killer movie, never actually lets out a scream. But to be fair, that's kinda hard to do when you have a sack over your head. Their chemistry is excellent, even to the point where a romantic scene happens between the two and it doesn't really come off cringeworthy despite the age difference between the two characters. Stacy Keach himself even said that it was a bit of a coincidence to have two Americans meet in the middle of the outback. But it works, as the idea of the two foreigners in a strange and hostile land only lends itself to the scenes of genuine suspense and dread that comes later in the film. This isn't the first time an Everett DeRoche scripted film has creeped me out, as Long Weekend managed to scare me with a manatee's corpse. Indeed, Greg McLean names Roadgames as a definite inspiration for Wolf Creek, and it's not hard to see why. The killer himself is played by stuntman Grant Page, and in true Halloween style, he doesn't say a word. We never find out what his motivations are beyond speculation from our main protagonists. All we know is that he kills women and that his wits match that of Pat Quid in their game of cat and mouse across the plains of Australia, further proving that sometimes the scariest antagonist is the one that's unknown and yet entirely familiar. If I were to lay down one gripe about the film's handling of the killer, I'd say that I probably wouldn't have revealed his face so early on. I think it would have lent a more mysterious slant to the character, perhaps even leaving you wondering if he's even real or not, a la The Hitcher. Indeed, the first murder scene makes his appearance in the blinding light of the hotel bathroom seem almost supernatural, and that's kind of undermined a little when you see pretty quickly that he's just some bloke. Roadgames is definitely a treat for both Hitchcock fans and fans of Aussie cinema. The film crew actually made the journey that the characters do from Melbourne in Victoria all the way to Perth in Western Australia. So if you're looking for a film that displays the beauty and desolation of the outback in all its glory, then Roadgames is the film for you. Other than that, it's a classic and highly influential thriller, and I recommend it to anyone. The film has an excellent sense of humour. Stacey Keach is constantly cracking often dad-level jokes,
Now there's a man with balls.
and the characters that he comes across on his journey are often strange and hilarious in their own right, with special attention paid to a certain man with a certain doomed boat. The film even ends with a very dark piece of comic imagery, meaning you'll be laughing about as much as you'll be fearing for the characters' lives. I'm DeadEye. G'day, mate.